This is the all-new Land Rover Discovery Sport. This is a car which will replace the Freelander 2. In terms of looks, the Discovery Sport looks really like a stretched up version of the popular Evoque SUV. So is this the best 7-seater luxury SUV you can buy in India at the moment? We'll find out on the show today. Well, the biggest advantage the Discovery Sport has against its main rivals, the Volvo XC60, the BMW X3 as well as the Audi Q5, of course, is the fact that this car is a proper 7-seater and it has 7 seats. And as you can see, with all the 7 seats up, the last row up, there's very minimal boot space, but you can increase that by stowing away the seats. And stowing away the seats is a very breezy affair. All you need to do is just pull this little lever over here and push them down. And with the seats down, the space inside the boot is comparable to the Volvo XC60 and slightly lower than the one on the BMW X3. But if you want to increase space even more, then you can of course drop the backrest of the second row of seats down, and that can be done very easily by just pulling these buttons over here in the corner, and the seats go down with minimum fuss. Well, so here I'm in the last row of the Discovery's cabin, and surprisingly it's a good place to be even for a tall adult like me. I have pushed these seats all the way up front, and as you can see, legroom is just about adequate, but headroom is pretty decent considering my height is 5'10". Not a very great place for adults on those long journeys, but kids should be absolutely perfect over here. And even if you are an adult and sitting over here, it should not really be a big issue for those small city trips. So here I am now in the second row of the Discovery's cabin, and I have pushed these seats all the way up ahead, and there's minimum leg room, and headroom is pretty decent, but of course I can push them all the way back, and I will push the other one as well, and that really generates a lot of knee room inside the cabin. As you can see, knee room is more than abundant. In fact, it is in the league of the much bigger and more expensive Range Rover from the same brand, and it's a good place to be. The seat quality is very good, the cushioning is excellent, and because it's a genuinely wide car at the back, you can sit 3 over here. There's a bit of a hump over here, but it's not a very big one. We've seen some taller humps in the floorboard from some of the rivals like the BMW, and because the footwells are generous around that hump, you can of course sit 3 over here, and whoever's sitting here will have plenty of place to stretch his feet without having any fight with the other occupants. And all that comfort and space along with this panoramic sunroof really gives you a sense of luxury inside the Discovery's cabin. So a great place to be in the second row of seats as well. Well, so here I am now in the front row of the new Discovery seats, and I have to say this is a faultless cabin. The quality of the materials used is absolutely brilliant, and that along with this beige and black combination works really well. It's a very classy cabin to sit in. Now, it's not as flashy as its main rival, the Audi Q5 or the BMW X3 in terms of design, but it feels very mature, feels very posh, and feels very, very upmarket. Well, to add to the sense of drama inside the cabin, as soon as you hit that start-stop button for the engine to start, this swivel wheel pops out. This, of course, remember, is the gear knob over here. Well, the other new thing inside this car, of course, is this new 8-inch screen over here, which houses the controls for all the systems in this car. And it's a very nice and easy to use system. It's very intuitive to operate, and even the touch is very good. The center of the dashboard houses the AC controls in their circular theme, and it's a very easy to operate system, and really does feel very nice and tactile to operate. You also get 2 zone climate control over here, as well as park assist. You get a reverse parking camera, and because this is the top of the line version, you get a lot of safety equipment as well. You of course get traction control, hill descent assist, and you also get multiple airbags. There's a driver knee airbag over here, and the side curtain airbag go all the way to the back. Well, the steering wheel adjusts for rake as well as for reach, and that along with the fact that these are power adjusted seats means that finding a comfortable driving position is a breezy affair inside this car. Well, so here I am driving the Discovery Sport, and this car of course comes with a 2.2 litre diesel engine. Now this engine comes in 2 states of tune. There's a 147 bhp version which we are driving at the moment, and there's also a 187 bhp version which is of course a lot more expensive to buy. But the other good point about this engine is the fact that it's a very responsive engine, and a little bit of throttle input is all you need to propel this car forward. And if you do of course use it in top gear and are pushing that accelerator pedal all the way down, you will be doing some serious speeds without knowing it, because this car really does mask its speed very well. Well, high-speed ride is very good, and it's a very stable car. If you are someone who enjoys pushing his car into corners and are a keen driver, then this car is pretty decent at it. It's not in the same league as maybe say a BMW X3 is, but that said, there's some fun to be had for keener drivers because the steering wheel is really crisp and it really does offer you loads of feedback. And wherever you point the steering wheel, the car goes in that direction. And that, along with the fact that these tires are very grippy on the outside, as well as the solid braking of this car, makes it a very agile handler when you are pushing it in that hilly section. Well, most SUV owners who buy these premium SUVs don't really buy them to take them off-road, and they buy these cars more for their image as well as the comfort that these cars offer. But that said, this of course is a Land Rover, so it has to have 4x4 abilities, and Land Rover offers you their famous all-terrain response system, and all you need to do is click this button over here and choose what kind of surface you are driving on, and the car really will take care of the rest. And this car is a much better off-roader than its main rivals because of this terrain response system. Well, another area where this car excels is in refinement. It does have a little bit of diesel engine clatter when you start it from cold, but once of course the engine is warmed up after a couple of minutes, there's very little noise which enters the cabin, and even when you are pumping it on the highway, there's very little which filters through, and that's largely because it has a 9-speed gearbox. So when you are doing speeds in excess of 110 kph on the highway and the gearbox is in its top gear, the engine is spinning at a relatively low 1800-1900 rpm, making the cabin a very quiet and calm place to be in. Well, the Discovery Sport is a pretty relaxing car to drive when you are driving it inside the city, and that's largely because even though it's a pretty big car, the glass area is pretty big, and that gives you a good view of the road ahead as well as whatever's happening around you, and that adds to a sense of confidence when you are driving this car. Also, because you sit a lot higher than you sit in most of its other rivals, you can really look down at other puny vehicles and feel like the boss. Well, don't think of the Discovery Sport as a replacement for the Freelander, but think of it as a more user-friendly as well as practical version of the Evoque SUV. So with its off-roading capabilities, that slick 9-speed gearbox as well as the 7-seat cabin, is this the best premium SUV at this price point? Well, looking at it, it really is hard to say no.